Are we spending all our time chasing success, the external markers, the achievements, or are we truly striving for something maybe deeper? Clarity, purpose. It's a really big distinction, I think. And recognizing that difference, well, it fundamentally shifts how we approach personal growth.
It really does. Because those external achievements, they're often temporary milestones, aren't they? When we look at real transformation, it's easy to focus just on the result. But the material we're digging into today suggests the real breakthrough is internal. It's about becoming the person who lives with integrity, courage, and purpose, regardless of the immediate outcome.
Right. And that's the lens we're using today, looking at the Breakthrough Bulletin, specifically the issue on becoming your best self. It's by Coach Renee. And this source, it feels like a fantastic blueprint. We're not just summarizing here. We're really on a mission to pull out every actionable insight, every key mechanism, every bit of wisdom she lays out.
Yeah, she structured it like a complete toolkit. You get 3 actionable tips, 2 really thought-provoking questions, 1 engaging activity, a visualization, and this single piece of wisdom designed to shift your mindset.
And the foundational idea here, this is what makes it so powerful, I think. Personal transformation becomes not just possible, but genuinely inevitable. That happens once you begin consistently acting in alignment with the person you want to be.
Exactly. That alignment, that integrity between your thoughts and your actions, that's what unlocks immediate energy, confidence, momentum. It shifts growth from feeling like this painful grind to something more like a natural unfolding.
Okay, so where do we start with this blueprint?
Well, tip 1 is the essential foundation. You absolutely must define your ideal self, clearly, courageously. What's often overlooked, I find, is that our behavior flows directly from our identity, how we see ourselves. If you think of yourself as, say, somebody who struggles with procrastination, well, guess what? Your actions tend to follow that script.
Huh. And if you haven't defined the future identity, the one you're aiming for, you're just defaulting to the past one.
Right. It sounds kind of obvious when you say it, but how many of us actually have a written, vivid description of the person we are actively becoming?
Probably not many, which is why the source gives us this brilliant short exercise. Just spend 10 minutes journaling. Create a vivid description of that future self.
Vivid. Okay. What does that entail?
Well, crucially, that description needs to be bold and specific. It has to define your qualities, not just vague things like successful, but more like a leader who fosters trust. It needs to cover behaviors, habits, and maybe most importantly, how you make other people feel when they interact with you. That acts like a magnet for your actions.
Okay, that makes sense. And there's a psychological impact here, isn't there? The source mentions an anecdote. Yes, exactly. Coach Renee shares a story about a professional who historically avoided conflict. Maybe they identified as the peacekeeper. They didn't just decide to, stop avoiding conflict. That's too vague. They redefined their ideal self as a calm truth teller who speaks with strength and compassion.
Ah, okay, so it's an identity shift first.
Precisely. And that subtle internal redefinition, that identity choice, it fundamentally shifted their external behavior. So when a tricky situation came up in a meeting, they didn't react from that old, maybe fearful identity. They paused and then chose the behavior of the calm truth teller.
It's like identity-based habit formation. Choosing the action becomes easier because it lines up with who you're actively trying to be.
You got it. That's the essence of it.
So the big takeaway from this first part is don't just set goals like be less conflict avoidant. Design the identity. I am a calm truth teller. And the actions will start to follow that design.
Exactly. That's the blueprint.
Okay, so if defining the self is the blueprint, what are the next steps? What about the materials we use, the day-to-day stuff?
Right. That brings us neatly to tip 2. Upgrade your inputs.
Inputs, meaning what exactly?
It's about recognizing that our evolution isn't just shaped by what we do, but relentlessly by what we consume. Think about the conversations we engage in, the content we scroll through online, even the environments we just tolerate.
So we need to be really intentional about this.
Fiercely intentional. The inputs we choose need to inspire our highest expression, not reinforce our current limits or fears. If your daily inputs are constantly stressing you out, draining your energy, or confirming negative biases, well, you're actively working against that new identity you just defined in tip 1.
It's like you're building with one hand and tearing down with the other.
Pretty much. And there's a neurological element, too. Repetition and input reinforces certain neural pathways. You are literally training your brain with every scroll, every conversation.
Okay, wow. The source gives an example of this, right? A small shift with big results.
Yeah, a great one. A reader shared that they realized their habit of doom-scrolling social media for 15 minutes before bed was probably the worst possible input for their mind.
I think many of us can relate to that one.
Definitely. So they consciously swapped it out. Instead, they started listening to an audiobook about emotional mastery or, say, stoicism.
And the result?
Improved mindset, significantly better sleep quality, all within just a few weeks. A simple, intentional replacement, but with profound systemic results.
So the actionable step here is an audit.
Yes. Coach Renee recommends a simple audit. Just identify one draining influence you currently consume, maybe a toxic group chat, a particular news feed, and replace it with something uplifting or expansive for just 1 week. See what happens.
Okay, that feels doable. Which leads us to tip 3, which you mentioned might be the most challenging: break the loop.
Ah, yes. This is the moment-to-moment check-in. This is what separates the person who aspires to be different from the person who actually achieves it.
The loop being our automatic reactions.
Exactly. That default reaction driven by our past self, especially when we get triggered by fear, doubt, or maybe criticism, breaking it requires noticing that trigger point and inserting a pause.
Okay, but that pause, that's the hard part, isn't it? When emotions are running high, how do you actually make that leap from the automatic reaction to the intentional choice? What does the source say about that split-second decision?
It gives us the crucial pivot point. When you feel that old pattern stirring defensiveness, anger, shutting down your rage, you stop, you pause, and you ask the key question: what would the future version of me do right now?
Ah, so you're accessing the wiser self.
You bypass the immediate, often unhelpful urge and consciously access behavior of the person you've already committed to becoming.
Okay, let's use that tough feedback scenario again. The old past self reaction might be that immediate flare of defensiveness, right? Wanting to explain yourself.
Totally. But the upgraded version pauses. And this pause might literally be just 2 seconds, one deep breath, and then responds with curiosity. Maybe something like, "That's insightful. Can you tell me more about what you observed?"
And the practical outcome of that is huge.
Phenomenal. That shift, just from defensiveness to curiosity, doesn't just change your internal state. It builds trust. It fosters collaboration instead of creating tension.
So how do we make this operational? Just remembering the question.
Well, remembering is hard in the heat of the moment. So the recommended action is simple but demanding. Keep the question, "What would my future self choose here?" visible, like on a sticky note on your monitor or mirror. And then commit to actively using it every day for a full week. You have to train the muscle of the pause, make it a habit.
Train the muscle of the pause. I like that. Okay, so we've defined the self, curated inputs, and learned how to break the loop. What's next?
Now we move from the how to the why. The deeper reflective work. We need to connect these actions to our core motivation. And that's where the 2 thought-provoking questions from Coach Renee come in. They're designed to uncover the deeper why behind this whole desire to evolve.
Okay, let's hear them.
The first connects your daily micro-shifts to a lasting impact. It makes sure your growth isn't just superficial. It asks you to write 1 paragraph starting with this phrase: "The legacy I want to leave through who I become is..."
Legacy. Wow. Why is framing it around legacy so powerful? Usually we think of goals as being for us, right? Like a better job or getting healthier.
It creates a different kind of motivation, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Something bigger than just personal gain. When things get tough, it's sometimes surprisingly easy to let ourselves down. But it's much harder to compromise the legacy you envision leaving for your family, your community, maybe your field of work. It provides a long-term anchor for that short-term discipline.
That makes a lot of sense, anchoring it to something bigger. What's the second question? You said it was brutally revealing.
Yes. It's maybe the most practical one. If I fully stepped into my potential, what would I stop tolerating?
Ooh, okay. That hits differently.
It's a really powerful diagnostic tool. It forces you to confront the gap, the cognitive dissonance between the person you say you want to be and the things you currently put up with. We all have things we tolerate, don't we? Maybe a friendship that consistently drains us, persistent clutter in our space, or a daily habit we know is actually undermining us.
And the logic is, the ideal future version of you just wouldn't stand for that.
Exactly. That future self, operating at their best, simply wouldn't have the energy or the patience for that misalignment. If your future self wouldn't tolerate that specific energy drain, why are you accommodating it right now?
That's a sharp point. So what's the action associated with this?
It leads directly to an actionable release. The prompt is specific. List 3 things you are currently tolerating that your future self would immediately release or change. And this isn't always about, huge life changes or dramatic breakups. It could be releasing the tolerance for a perpetually messy desk or the tolerance for participating in gossip. Small things add up.
Right. Cutting out those little energy leaks. And there was some wisdom connected to this, too.
Yes, a really lovely point. Coach Renee emphasizes that your greatest contribution often comes from the very things you've already mastered or overcome. So that gives us a secondary reflection. What gifts or wisdom am I meant to carry forward as part of my legacy? It reframes past struggles not as baggage, but as future strength, source material for your contribution.
Beautiful. Okay, so identity, inputs, breaking the loop, connecting to legacy, and releasing what doesn't fit. This feels like solid groundwork. What about the big activity?
Right, this groundwork prepares us for the main engaging activity. It's the breakthrough exercise called Meet Your Future Self. And this is more than just like positive thinking. It's designed as a detailed, personal roadmap creation tool.
A roadmap. How does that work? It sounds like guided visualization.
It is, essentially, but it's aimed at kind of circumventing your rational, maybe skeptical mind to reveal the hidden steps you actually need to take.
So how do you do it effectively? What are the steps?
It requires deep sensory engagement. You find a quiet space, close your eyes, and really visualize yourself, say 3 years from now, already living as your best self, the one you defined earlier.
Yeah.
You need to activate all your senses. See how they walk, how they dress, hear how they speak, the confidence in their voice, what they talk about, and most importantly, feel the confidence or the peace or the energy they carry within them. Really embody it.
Okay, so you get deeply connected with that visualized future self. Then what?
Then the source says you interview them. This is where the visualization delivers the actual roadmap, the practical steps.
Ah, okay. What are the critical questions we should be asking this future self?
The questions are strategic. They're designed to pull actionable steps back into your present reality. First, you must ask, what do I need to let go of to become you?
Let go of. Interesting.
Yeah, this often reveals subconscious resistance. It could be a limiting belief, a specific habit, maybe even a relationship that's holding you back.
That's powerful. We often focus on what we need to add or do, but transformation is so often about subtraction, isn't it? What else do we ask?
Second key question, what daily practice keeps you grounded? This reveals those non-negotiable routines. Maybe it's meditation, a particular type of workout, journaling, the things that sustain this ideal self day to day.
The maintenance habits.
Exactly.
Need a third.
The third is, what was the moment everything started to shift? This question helps you pinpoint the actual initiating decision or the moment of clarity that you perhaps need to replicate or find right now.
So you journal these answers.
Absolutely. Journal the answers you receive during the visualization, and then revisiting that visualization and those notes regularly turns it into a living document, a personal guide. It provides proof, in a way, that this ideal identity is achievable because you've already seen and felt the successful outcome in your mind's eye.
That really ties everything together. The definition, the actions, the release, and now the forward vision. Is there a final piece of wisdom?
There is the ultimate nugget of wisdom that sort of encapsulates this whole journey. It's from an unknown author, and it serves as this final sharp realization. You're always one decision away from a totally different life.
Wow, that's direct.
It is.
That's the ultimate call to action, really. It reminds you that there isn't some magic time or perfect place to start. Every transformation, every major pivot, every success story ultimately began with one brave, aligned choice. And Coach Renee leaves us with that final reflection prompt based on this. What decision could I make today that would move me closer to my best self? Not tomorrow, not next week, today.
So when you look at the whole picture, what the Breakthrough Bulletin offers here is, well, it's much more than just a checklist. It's a structured, conscious roadmap for moment-by-moment evolution. By combining that clear definition of your ideal identity, the intentional curation of your inputs, and that constant practice of breaking the old behavioral loops, you create this really powerful, self-sustaining system for growth.
Yeah, it eliminates the whole I'll start when mentality. The legacy you want to leave, the person you aspire to become, it all begins today, right now, with the intentional choices you make. You've got the blueprint from tip 1, the diagnostic questions about tolerance, and now this roadmap from your future self-visualization.
The only thing left is the application. Taking this knowledge and putting it into practice. That's the final essential step. Choose one action from everything we've discussed. Maybe it's the sticky note with the future self question. Maybe it's the inputs audit. Maybe it's listing those 3 things you'll stop tolerating. And just commit to doing it today.
Absolutely. And if you, listening, found these insights from Coach Renee's material as actionable and, frankly, as compelling as we did, we definitely invite you to subscribe. This kind of deep exploration into actionable personal growth resources is exactly what we love doing here. Subscribing means you won't miss out on future opportunities to explore your own potential. We'll make sure the links are right there for you.